Greetings, my friends, colleagues, and wherever I find you. Thank you so much for taking time to tune into this MelVee Talks. On this episode, we talk about anyone, anything, anywhere. But this week, I've decided to talk about something so critical, a gift of God to mankind, marriage. And who else but the doctor himself to discuss this topic. Machona, greetings.
Thank you, Melusi. How are you? I'm great. And you? How are you?
I'm well, thanks, man. So excited you finally are in South Africa. COVID blocked us in many things.
Yes, I have been
It's
away.
been years.
Yes, it's been years. I think the last time I was on set maybe is about 3 years back.
Yes.
And yeah, it's good to be back and to have our listeners have this voice once again.
Yeah, you were on Sabbath school.
Well.
Yes, you were on Sabbath school. Now here you are on MelVee Talks.
Yes.
Because some things have changed. Your knowledge is now calibrated.
It is now calibrated.
It's now
not only that,
PhD.
but I think you always encouraged me that I think you need to go higher. Your level of intellect and language is far better.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah.
Thank you so much, my friend.
And also you've improved.
No, I appreciate. God is always blessing.
I know your subscribers are now over 100,000.
We actually, the last time I checked, we're over 136,000.
136, which is quite fantastic.
Yeah.
It shows that they.
And then, by the way, before COVID, we were only
50,000.
But in the last year, too, in fact, in the first year of COVID, we doubled the numbers.
Okay.
In fact, let me say God brought people to MelVee. And so for every subscriber out there, we thank God for you guys and we appreciate your coming through. And so God has brought us thus far.
True. Thank you.
Now, I want us to talk about something that you and I have walked this road before.
Okay.
If it was in the entertainment circles, we'll say we bought the t-shirt, we wore it, now it's torn.
Yeah.
We have gone through the institution of marriage.
Yes.
And we had the privilege of participating in each other's weddings.
Yes, and marriage processes.
Why did you choose me to be your best man, by the way?
Of course, I think those who have not watched the first episode, of course we share, much history, and we know we have been friends for quite some time. So, I thought there is no better time to reward friendships than times of happiness. Of course, you can't choose somebody that does not share your experiences and share your happinesses. Equally as they've shared your sadnesses and setbacks.
Yeah.
So times of rejoicings, for me, times of payback.
Yeah.
So you need to rejoice with those that are close to you. Of course, because you were there in my life. Yeah. There was no better option.
Yes. No, man, it's an honor. I never thought I would be, but I felt very honored to be there.
Yeah, and you're the best man.
I would have wanted you to be my best man, but because you are now married, I made you the candle lighter.
Yeah, that's true. I married earlier than you. Yeah.
So maybe let's walk back. In this episode, I want us to talk about how courtship was and some of the lessons we learned during those times, because our courtship ended up in marriage.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's a successful courtship. So there's so many lessons we can share, but also to talk about our marriages if we can, the good and some of the challenges we faced, but also most importantly, some of the parenting experiences we've picked up. Man, I've beat you to parenting. I'm now a grandfather, by the way. One of the children I parented is now a mother.
He's now a mother. Well,
so I can give you some tips
on grandparenting.
Yes. So I want us to talk a little bit about that journey. I'm hoping that some young people out there will still pick some lessons.
That's very true.
And from those lessons, they'll apply them to whatever applies into their situations. So I remember love was a very difficult thing for us.
Yeah, indeed it was.
What made it difficult?
I don't know. Maybe it's we were coming from a very conservative background, and maybe because also we were, Glenview was quite like a new town, and we were getting to know each other, throwing up, coming from different backgrounds. Remember, we're coming from the war and so forth. And well, I think those years also were marked with much focus on other things like education and stuff. There was no television. I remember the first television that was bought was a few houses away. You would be required to wash your feet, to wash yourself before you come in. So there was not much influence like we get from the contemporary medias, internet, social media, and the phone. So issues of love were preserved for the mature. So yeah, I guess that is what I can attribute to late engagement in what I would call courtship or love affairs.
And there were lots of misconceptions in terms of what it means to be in love. All right.
Yes, that's true.
And many people made shipwreck by saying I'm in love, and then end up seeing pregnancies.
That's true.
So the subject of love was taboo. In many places, even at school. I don't remember.
Yeah,
I mean, the most exciting subject at school was reproducctive health.
Yes, that's
and
true.
Many teachers would shun telling us the details of who you are, what you are, and how
your
it
physical
works.
makeup.
How your body works, and to do it with girls as well. That class would be something else. So in our days, there was a lot of secretive teaching of.
That's very true.
Sometimes you discovered things by yourself, and I don't know, but we were a society that didn't have a lot of entertainment sports.
That's true.
By sports, I mean places where you can go and hang out with a lot of people. Recreation.
Yes.
There was none of that. So church was the only place, perhaps on a weekend, you could go to and meet up with a lot of people. But also as we grew older, we began to have camps. I think for me, and I'm sure maybe for many people who grew up in our time, they met up with their girlfriends for the first time
at camp,
at church or at camp meeting.
Yes.
I bet if I ran a poll at the bottom of this video, almost 90%.
Yeah, you are right.
So you didn't want to miss out on those events.
Yes, that's very true.
So to the elders who thought they're just taking us closer to Jesus, we had other motives. So tell us, where did you meet Loveness, and how was the experience like?
I met her at church, like you mentioned.
Okay.
We had been invited to sing at their church. Apparently, I had gone to sing there with a male group. Like I said, I used to sing for Arrows of the Morning.
All right.
And then we had gone there, we had sang, and I think I'd done a lesson or so, but I didn't see her. And when I came with a male group, with a female group rather, Advent Echoes, which is one of the groups that we formed.
After our church was split, you went to the other church and you formed another music group.
I
remember.
So I went with that group to sing at their church. Apparently, when we visited them, they had a wedding the following day. It was a Sunday. So we had just been invited for a Sabbath program. So we sang so well. And there's a group that was supposed to come and administer to the wedding. That was going to officiate the wedding and partake of the wedding. So it had called the elders that they had challenges with their transportation. They were not going to make it for the wedding. So they were in a crisis. And here we are. They spoke to us nicely and asked us, please, can you officiate?
Come tomorrow.
And we had to call our parents. We had to call the parents of the members that we had to ask them, we are coming late. We are extending to Eresia because, there is a wedding the following day. So that, was the time that gave an opportunity for me to meet her. So we are by the church, after Vespers, and she is coming with a friend. She was coming with a friend, Precious. Beautifully dressed, smart, and when I looked, I said, "Wow, there comes
something
like what Adam said." Yeah, and then what melted me, is when she greeted me. She, in our African context,
she went on that stoop.
Yes, on that stoop.
Wow.
That mzura, just melted me. It's kind of,
wow.
I wish I had opportunity. She came in as she was a cake baker, I think.
All right.
Yeah, and so the following day, I tried to get her contacts, but I could not. And I tried to speak to her, I could not. She refused. And then I started working, and where I worked for fast food chain. And then where I started working, it was early in the morning. So it so happened that one day, as I was just coming off the counter, guess who I meet? As I raise my face, it's her, and on the till she wanted to buy something, but I was not serving. I was doing something.
All right.
But we
suddenly
met.
You begin to serve.
Yes, and the chemistry again rekindled.
Wow.
It was way after, I think, about 6 or so months.
Yeah.
So then I had to stop whatever I did. I asked for some time off, and then asked for to see her off and stuff.
Wow.
So that's how we met. Like I'm saying, it all boils back to church
activities.
Church activities.
Give us some tips. How did you win her heart to your side? I'm sure young people want to know. What did you tell her? Was it easy?
Well, I want to say it wasn't. It was not easy. Like I said, on my first attempt at church, she's quite a principled, a very introverted individual. It was not as that. And then I asked her, even when I went out, I said, now I think is the time that at least you can give me contact, so that at least we can, keep in touch. And then she says, no, I'm not going to give you a contact. Rather, give me yours.
Wow.
And then I gave him a number. I forgot about it because in the first day she never called. And I was a field worker. I would only go to I would only go to the office after the activities that we would do. And then when I went to the office one day, he says, there is a lady who is calling, and you gave the office number. So please, can you call Loveness? She's been calling and asking to talk to you.
Wow.
And then when I called her, that's when the conversation started. Of course, you can't start by saying,
this is it,
I love you, and so forth. You have to nurse and, of course, create a conducive, you be the man, show that you are the man, show the affection, sell those qualities, the nice qualities that that will pave way to say, I love you. And then I invited her for maybe the shot that gave me good things. I invited her for an outing. We had a big Sabbath, a federation meeting.
Yes.
And apparently they had challenges with transport.
Right.
So I waited. I think we had an appointment, and she came late. I think for it was almost 1.5 hours, close to about 2 hours. She thought I had gone, but to her surprise, I had waited for her, and maybe it was one of the selling points. This man is
he's a patient, humble disciple.
So whatever it takes, at times you need to be very patient.
Yes.
Yeah. And then.
But when you were waiting, what was going through your mind, man?
Of course, like anyone else, human as we are, human as we are, you will be eating inside.
Yeah.
But of course, patience really pays.
I think what you're saying, I hear you saying, when you really love somebody,
yes,
even when they seem to be not playing up, you still are patient with them.
Yeah, you still are patient.
You still
I think
give
even
them
when they
benefit
came,
of doubt.
I was very smiling, say, no, don't worry. You know.
In fact, that's what carries marriage. That's what carries marriage.
It's that forbearance,
yes.
you know, that understanding, that being compassionate. Yeah, I think that's what carries it.
All right.
Yeah, and so as we progressed, we had time to talk. We dated because both of us were working. We then had time to ask each other for time to see each other.
All right.
I think because I was coming from a very mature point. I was working. I was mature. I had finished my education. I was my secondary education. I was progressing with my professional qualification, like for those that I mentioned in the first series.
Yes.
But I was mature. We asked each other out, and finally, there's a time where I said, now is the time to.
It's actually funny, Machona, that I was first in love. You came after.
Yes.
But you became first in marriage.
Yeah, I think it's because of the resoluteness.
I guess the point there, it's resoluteness, yes, I understand. But I think in my case, it's because I was still in university.
Yes, that's very true.
I was working, and you were working.
I was working, yes.
So because you ticked that box.
I ticked that box before you did.
Yes. So by the time I finished, because I met Vivian just before my university time.
Yes.
I was doing temporal teaching while I was waiting for my enrollment. Because between my high school and the university, there was a year I took as a gap. To rewrite my English.
Yes.
All right, because I didn't have my English at Form 4.
At Form 4, yes.
I had general paper, but they said they want Cambridge English. So I took that gap, then I went teaching.
There you have viewers. He failed English first time. But when you look at him...
I failed it, but when I rewrote it, I got an A.
An A, yeah. So for all the young people that are out there... Obstacles should not be,
Yes. Even failure in one of your exams, rewrite them.
Yeah.
And then I went back and enrolled. And it was that time when I enrolled that I met Vivian. Again, it was at a church function.
Yeah, that's true.
You remember?
You want to share the experience?
Of course, of course.
I did share mine, so it would only be fair that viewers also have a... Yeah.
So I'm teaching. I think I taught at Warren Park. I taught at Glenora High. In between those schools. So there was a program planned at Sheraton Hotel. That's where I first met her.
Okay.
And I was with Edward Nyatanga, the late. I was taking pictures. So we were walking towards a spot where I wanted the picture taken of me and my sisters and their friends. And so we bump into this group of young girls. And they also want a picture taken.
Okay.
So we took our picture. In fact, we never took our picture by ourselves.
Okay.
As we were posing to take the pictures, I think Edward knew some of the girls. He just said, "Come, let me take a big picture with all of you."
Okay.
So they came in. I can't quite remember if it was us or Edward threw us in there, but somehow we ended up taking a combined picture.
Okay.
And so we went home after Sabbath. Then Edward came with the pictures.
Okay.
And said, "Ngobe, but I had also seen her.
Okay.
And I said, wow, this girl she doesn't look like she can speak Shona. She looks like she's from the suburbs out there. So he gave me some of those pictures. And I used to really just look at them because they were nice.
Okay.
And my brother kept saying, who are these people?
Okay.
I said, I don't know them. He said, you're lying. Who are these people? Who's this one?
They were prophesying.
I didn't even know which church they were from.
Okay.
And so I just said, look, it's a picture. I'll just have these strangers.
Yes. Okay.
Fast forward to the next year. I'm in university now. I'm first year. there's a camp planned in Wilshire, Chivu area, youth camp, Easter camp. I go with the university students. We had a bus. We combined with students with other youths from Glenview.
Yes.
So one bus, we go there. And who do I meet there?
Yeah, the lady on the picture.
I think I know you. She's also like, I think I remember you. So it was, I think.
Okay.
We had a great camp. We could greet each other. Last day, the buses were late. We played some games together.
Yes.
I think at that point, that's when I made an impression on her.
Okay.
And because at that point, there were no cell phones.
That's true.
So we exchanged addresses.
And so forth, yeah.
Yes, if I want to write you a letter, where do I send it to?
Yeah.
So I got to know which church she goes to. And the next thing, obviously, was to write a letter.
That's very true.
And thank her for the times, for the games. While we were at camp, I wrote a song she wanted in Ndebele. So I wrote it for her. Yes, I think it was a song she wanted lyrics on.
Okay.
And I had very good handwriting.
Yeah, and you still do.
Yeah. And so she later told me, I never thought a boy could write that neatly.
Yes.
Caught her attention. And then wrote her, in fact, I didn't write her the letter first. She's the one who wrote a letter and sent it with one of the friends who was at university.
Okay.
So this boy says, I'm not going to give you this letter. Come to our residence. We want to ask you, who is this girl? Because these guys had gone to see the girl, but they were given a letter that belongs to me. So I'm like, no, I just... But from that time onwards, we exchanged letters. You know me, I'm a very shy person, and I don't want people in my space. I run my own things. Even now...
You don't need to be camera shy. You are now camera shy now. You are not camera shy. You need to tell us exactly at what point then you said,
No, it's actually a mystery. It's a mystery that I did this thing that we always were told. When she really loves you, ask if she can give you an apple.
Okay.
You know the stories we were told?
Or in orange, or Lord, you pray.
But for me, I felt, no, that's a cheap exercise. Can God turn her heart to me?
Okay.
That's what I prayed for.
Okay.
Can God turn her heart? I don't want to tell her all the funny stories and drama. I just want her to have affection for me.
Okay.
If she does, then I'll give her my heart. Because girls and all that, I never was a girl's boy. I never loved going out.
Yes.
I would let those who went out with me submit their CVs. I'll tell you, I don't know them. I never did girls when I was a young man.
Yeah.
I guess a number of things contributed my personality most. I'm a very quiet person.
Yeah, very quiet.
Very reserved. It's only life that taught me to talk too much.
Yeah. So for those that are watching, maybe you may need to take lessons there. It's good to be quiet time.
Yes.
It keeps you. But I know also of people who have messed up their lives because of they're also introverted.
Yes, you miss opportunities.
You miss
people
opportunities.
Over you.
Yes, and in their quietness, they do other mischiefs. You find them sick or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a point in life where you also need to get that courage.
Yeah,
Come out
I was
of that
the
cocoon.
quiet and disciplined.
Yes,
I was not the quiet and naughty one. So what then happens was, I think there were a few occasions that happened. The first one I remember was we were at Glenview having a normal afternoon program. And one of my sisters came and said, there are girls who are looking for you.
Okay.
Who are they? And then the big sis was like, which one is yours? And I said, no, they're not my girls. And then later on, we went out with the Royal Sentinel to waterfalls. We were singing there.
Okay.
I think I told you this Sabbath would be...
okay.
They came to waterfalls. And I realized someone is interested in where I am.
Like the prayer you mentioned.
Exactly.
Like God, can you turn a heart?
Draw her to me.
Yes.
And that happened. And so one time I was at Mount Pleasant. She knew I was at Mount Pleasant. She came by herself.
Okay.
To meet me at college.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay.
Yes.
Then we went through Chicken Inn.
Yeah,
Nando's. Bought nice food there.
Okay.
You know, as students, we had a lot of money then.
Yeah, because you guys had grants then.
Yes,
Yeah.
Nice food. Accompanied her back home.
Okay.
And that night she wrote me a letter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those days you'd even tell it's 11 whatever time.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
And I'm writing this, and she wrote me a letter.
Mm-hmm.
And when I read it, I knew she was in love with me.
Okay.
So I then wanted to go home and see where she lives and meet the parents. And she was like, no, you can't come to my house. I have a very serious brother who can mess you up. And I said, no, I'm coming home. I'm coming home. So I came home, met the mother, and when she asked me where I come from and what my surname is, she then says, who's your father? And I was like, what has got my father to do with this thing? And then when I explained, she said, I want to meet with your mother. Then I knew things are now at another level.
Okay.
So our relationship got endorsed even by parents because apparently her mother is related to my grandmother. My grandmother is her aunt.
Okay.
All right. So when she looked at me, she said, you are my nephew.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that kind of
it's like Jacob. It's like Jacob going to
Laban.
To Laban.
That's it. That's it. So
it's quite fascinating.
That's how it started. We, to be honest with you, I never went out and had a script of saying I'm going to tell her this. It was just me being available, praying to God and asking for God to guide. And by that time, I felt I was ready for a relationship because I was old enough. I was living by myself. And obviously, I was still a student. So marriage was not going to happen.
Yeah.
Perhaps
the takeaway point there is that we both married people who were of the same faith. Yeah. I think maybe later on we'll talk about bonding and bounding, which is very quite critical. Yeah.
So you did a marriage ceremony, big one.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Man, we ate on that wedding.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, why I married first. I think like we dated, we courted rather for about 3 years.
All right.
Yeah, which gave us at least some time to talk about marriage.
Get to discover each other,
get to discover each other,
personalities,
know each other.
So there was no pressure to say let's rush
into marriage. No, there was not that pressure. But I think because I was gainfully employed, and of course.
But how old were you at that time when you got married?
On the wedding I was 25, so I started courting her when I was 22. So from 22 to 25.
We were still young.
We were still young, but of course 22 by then was. Most of I think from 25, marrying at 25, even nowadays, it's not young to give your hand in marriage. But of course, starting to talk about love. I know many
people in this country, in South Africa, who would not even think about marriage until they are
35.
30. Yeah.
Of course, it is its own disadvantages, as we can reflect from now. I think we married at the right time. I don't regret that time because like now my son is almost completing, my firstborn son is completing their university. My second-born son, we had agreed to have 2 kids. Is also winding up his secondary school, is writing his O-level now.
You don't want to be a parent when you are much older.
Yeah, when much older. And you are towards your retirement, you need to be stressing. I think for now, I would have loved, and I still do, even if I was going to go back, I think that time is very critical.
But let's not run away from the fact that what determined us getting married, according to our counsel back then, which of course is in the spirit of prophecy, is that you must be gainfully employed. You must have a means of production to feed your family.
Yeah, that's very true.
And for you, I think it happened early because of the career trajectory.
Yeah, the career trade. Like I didn't go to university direct. I did a professional course while I was
catapulted
working.
You into the working space.
So it took me 3 years, about 4 years of saving and working, and then I got married. So the point is, I'm just cementing the point to say, you need to be working. You need to show or have capacity to provide.
I like the word they're using, working, not employed.
Yeah,
because you could be working for yourself.
For yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other term I use is capacity to provide. You know, it's not the potential.
All right.
Yes, you need to have the capacity to provide.
Have you built?
Yes, how much enabling things that you're doing that you've monetized.
But let me also share this, Machona. Correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the biggest determinants of success in marriage is your relationship with God.
That's very true. It's very important.
In the first episode, we talked a lot about church. We were groomed from a very young age to know God,
yes,
and to understand everything around God, particularly marriage.
That's very true.
We had our parents as role models, raising families as well, and there are many lessons and many things I admire about their marriage. As much as there are many challenges they faced coming out of the war and many things, economies and stuff, but the key determinant for success in marriage, in fact, even in mine, I don't believe if I didn't know God the way I do, my marriage would have survived.
That's very true. Because I think it's foundational. It's foundational.
It's not an option.
It's foundational.
I actually still believe that
it's the platform on which marriage is actually founded. It's built.
I would never ever consider anyone to consider marriage unless they know God.
Unless they know God.
And that's why perhaps some even asks, when a boy comes to you and says, I love you, ask them to bring their tithe receipts. Men will never get married.
As a test of faith.
Yeah, but the point I'm really stressing is you cannot have an institution that was created by God and enjoy its benefits without knowing the author.
That's very true.
You will struggle with it.
That's very true.
You will make blunders in that institution and you will mess up.
Okay.
So marriage gets sweeter. The challenges of marriage become easy to go over when you know the will of God over your life and what you are involved in. That for me was the key determinant. So I waited until after my university years to fulfill the working part. And within that year when I finished, I was fortunate to be hired straight out of college. And so I had enough income already. You know, within a short space of time, you accompanied me. We went and did the traditional thing.
The traditional thing,
And we...
which means,
I remember the lessons you were giving. This is how you clap.
I think the takeaway point, which is very critical, is you need to respect the in-laws.
Absolutely.
You know, the Bible or being a Christian doesn't take away from some of our very good cultural practices.
Yeah.
Like in Africa with the lobola thing, we all went through it. For me, it speaks to the fact that, you know, you marry into the family because all your relatives and all the clan members, they come together in order to grace that occasion, which is very critical. And there are many forms of marriages that are now coming, on the contrary now, where people are just coming, staying in together without formalizing that. I think for me, it defeats many other things.
It actually destroys the bonds of families.
Yes, the bonds of happiness.
Because in the African context, and I'm sure in many cultures this is the case, maybe not in others in Western Europe and the West, in Africa you don't marry for yourself.
Yeah, that's true. You marry into the family.
You marry into the family and they marry into your family.
Yes, that's
so
true.
People want to know where you come from who you are, who are your people, and all of that. So the point of you exchanging your vows, or in fact getting the approval of the parents to take this girl as your wife, is such an important occasion that no one must miss it.
That's very true.
No one must miss that blessing that comes off the mouth of the father to say, Mkwenyan, Mkwash, our son, we accept you into our family.
Into our family, yes.
This is your wife.
Yeah.
And they instruct you, and and the aunties are involved. You cannot miss that blessing, and you still expect your marriage to be blessed and secured. It's more like a fence of relations that God puts around this marriage.
I think for me also, I like one of the late preachers who said, when you get into the marriage the proper way, that was Elder Muruko. He says, you have given dignity and respect to your parents. There's nothing as denigrating or degrading, where you are just passing by the road and the guys in the road, they greet your mom, say, Magadi mama, how are you mama? After she has passed and says, Kamanagawaganda kiss, it shows that you have not given them that respect that they deserve. But if you go into the marriage formally, through the right processes, you're respecting both your brothers, your parents, and what have you. It's quite an honor.
Definitely. Let's transition this from courtship marriage to parenting. Maybe give us your few lessons that you could say, my courtship was successful because. Maybe 3 points.
I think maturity. You must get into love affair when it's the right time, and you're determined to. I remember when I was praying, I took time when I started working. I think I took almost like 2 years before I started dating somebody. I was waiting for an opportunity to say, wherever I'm going to court, I need to try it and work it to marriage. So you need to be determined, and not to just try out. So I think it's not important. It's important rather to respect the time, the feelings, and never trifle with the hearts of others. I think it would be proper to court when it's intentional. You want to get serious, and you want to see whether you guys can bond. So that's the first point.
And you know why it's important never to trifle with hearts? One day you're going to be married.
Yeah, that's true.
And you'll meet all these exes.
That's true.
That could be a pitfall.
That's true.
For your faithfulness and fidelity in marriage.
That's true.
When suddenly you are in touch with your exes.
That's true.
Yeah.
And then the second point, of course, even while you're dating, because you're two different individuals that are coming from different backgrounds. Like I said, I started courting when I was 22. There are a lot of traits that and a lot of experience that have gone through that build you up. So it takes a give and a compromise in certain issues.
You have to die.
You have to die. There are certain things that you have to give up in order to gain. So in an affair, you don't need to always be dictatorial or to be the winner. There are things that you have to give up in order to gain. So that builds a very healthy relationship. And because we're coming from a point where we were both working, you would buy those nice things, which is the third point. Of course, presents here and there, chocolates, and a bit of some confect and surprises.
I'm laughing.
Flowers.
I'm laughing on the chocolate one. You know the story was.
Of course, I know the story that
I bought her so many. She now reacts to them. It's now my turn to
eat on your behalf, which is a good thing. So I think those are the 3 lessons that get when you're mature, keep up the relationship, and also get in with purpose. I think that's very important.
I think equally the same. For me, I think God came first.
Okay.
I know God is the author of marriage. He gave it to human beings as a gift. All right. And it's something that shows who he is.
That's true.
Because the mysteries of God, if you read Romans chapter 1, are revealed in that which is created.
That's true.
Even the Godhead. So marriage, just like Christ says, husband, love your wives as
just
Christ. So
loved the
whole plan of salvation is premised on the principles that govern marriage. So early in my life, my faith told me I cannot mess up trifle with hearts, like you said. This thing represents God. He gave it to me as a gift, and therefore I may not understand how it works. And of course there are examples you're seeing from others who messed up, the challenges your parents were facing, and many others. You would have seen these things and you're like, I don't want to be part of any drama.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
God helped me to have the right one. So for me, God came first. I actually pleaded with God for my wife to say, if this is the one, turn her. Because at that time, Machona, I had nothing on me, you know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you didn't have
all
anything.
I had was my brain.
Your brain
and
you
my
didn't
mouth.
have, and your mouth, yeah.
Which never spoke a lot anyway.
Yeah, that's very true. And you didn't have much behind your name or to your name.
Nothing at all.
Against your name. Yeah.
And so here I see a young, beautiful girl. She's Adventist, very spiritual. And I said, if she's meant to be mine, turn her heart. And God does turn hearts of kings. I mean, who's a little girl to God. And when that happened, I then was able to give. So God first that's why perhaps Adam was made to sleep.
To sleep, yes.
That's the theology now of marriage. Don't participate in the looking for. Let God find, or let God awaken your switch for love. Once he presents, because that's what happened to Adam. And so when that happened to me, I realized when God gives you your wife and your heart is in the right place with the person God has given you, there's nothing that the devil can throw at you that will make you want to walk away or leave that marriage, because you know this is a product of God's creation.
That's true.
And so that was one of my principles at courtship level. Secondly, don't just go through courtship saying, I like the flowers, I like the chocolates, I like the gifts. In fact, we used to joke with Vivian because she used to have access to my PIN code.
Yes,
when I was still a student, to my bank account.
Okay.
So there was a lot of transparency on a number of levels.
Okay.
But most importantly, we were very transparent with each other in terms of what we want to do with this thing. What is our vision for it? I've always because at that time I was coming back and getting stronger in the Lord. Remember my youthful high school years, I played sport, I'd go for soccer, for
running
rugby.
Away from church in the afternoon. So
even sometimes in the morning I would go for sports, but Prince Edward, Alan Wilson, Harare High, playing rugby and soccer. I would not be there. And so I was coming back and getting stronger in the Lord and resolving my decisions on how I want to serve God. I quit rugby. When I got to university, they were looking for me because they knew I play rugby. They were looking for soccer players. I said, guys, I don't think I'll take those clubs. I know I listed them, but... And they're like, no, we know you, man. You can play. We want defense. And I said, no.
Okay.
I'm not interested right now because I was coming back to God. So... the second thing for me was we made it very clear. What is this and where do we want to take it to?
That's very true.
We didn't just spend time for nothing.
So from there, I get the point that you need to be real, be realistic.
Very realistic and then open and transparent.
Open. Where you are not really chewing the bones in a courtship relationship, then you know, like what Machanda always says, that bus is not going is not going
Don't
anywhere.
get inside.
Yes. So I think for us, I think we also had an opportunity to discuss why is it, even before she said yes, we went through that cruelly, why and what is your plan and so forth.
We set up this name MelVee during our courtship.
Tell me more about it, and maybe our viewers would want to.
There will be a special time. I'll tell them, but maybe just in brief, we were just playing around with our names. I used to write my name as Mel, and then an S, and hyphen and an S, Mels. without the U and the I.
Okay.
So one day she came and wrote Mel and then added V.
Okay.
All right. So it's Melusi and V.
Okay.
I'm the only one perhaps who used to call her V.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
And so that's how the name came about. And we were saying, this is a nice name. Let's keep it and use it.
Okay.
Perhaps it's a symbol of what God can do with us, through us, and for the world.
Yeah, that's true.
And so we even began, me and my girlfriend used to pray together.
Yeah.
We would read the Desire of Ages,
Okay.
messages to young people, even the Great Controversy.
Yeah.
I became
But remember, you were also buying chocolates.
Of course.
We want to set this white elephant to say spiritualize it a lot.
Of course, I bought her enough chocolates.
There's much that goes into affairs.
Yes.
Than that. While it is foundational,
we tried to spend a lot of time together. So whenever there was an opportunity for camps, for church programs, and by the way, we started going to see marriage counselors before we even made plans for our wedding. We just wanted guidance.
Yeah.
I remember one time coming from a church meeting where we had a counseling session with one of the senior youth leaders, and someone was like, you, the way you're going, this spiritual thing, you will not get very far. You're too serious about it. Easy. And we were like, come on, what's the problem? We're fine with it.
We're fine with it, yes.
And so let me say, the spiritual barometer for our courtship was very high.
Okay.
We participated in a lot of... I remember we were at camp meeting at Nyauni.
Yeah, that's true.
Pastor Chigogora was praying for few people who had demon possession. So I remember going to call V and saying, come, let's go for prayer. Let's go and see God save people. And I remember as I was calling her, my mother-in-law was like, where do you want to go? In that date? What if the demons come on you? And we're like, no, Mama, we've prayed for ourselves. God is with us.
Yes.
We were so young. She was a teenager, late in her 19s. We went there and spent the whole evening praying with Pastor Chikogora for these demons. And we could see them go out. And the experience was on another level.
Yeah,
so we started really building on our knowledge of God and our understanding of practicing our faith.
So what I gleaned from there is that when you share the same faith and when you also cement your experiences together by interacting together, it brings you together, it bonds you, and it binds you. Those are the critical things. Because marriage is about getting along together.
Spending time on
together,
it.
Quality time together.
Blessing,
and
you
also sharing the interests.
Yeah, you would know me. The simple reason is because you spend a lot of time with me.
Yeah, that's true.
There are people out there who know you and me, but they don't know us that much.
Yeah, that much, yes. They only know
I said
just a
this
bit,
to my son and his friend, and I said, you know what? Your friend knows about me, but does not know me.
It does. Yes, that's true. Yeah,
you can say a lot more about me than your friend can.
Your friend, yes. Big.
And so when we spend time together, even in courtship, you are building on that foundation brick by brick, moment by moment. You are creating a solid building on top of your foundation.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, Christ can't love your wife for you.
That's true.
No wonder when God brought Eve to Adam, what did he say?
Yes.
What did he say?
Adam, nothing. Yeah.
The Bible just says, and God brought Eve.
You want us to be theological on that. I don't want to go into the deeper issues.
But I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it because I see the reality of what it means.
But
let's talk about
I'm saying in the interest of time, because that's a very theological issue.
Deep. I think on another time we'll come back with that one. So parenting.
Yeah.
You were blessed with 3 boys.
3 boys, yeah.
Don't you miss having a girl child?
Of course,
you'd have loved to parent a girl.
I would have loved to parent a girl, but
maybe that's the reason why you must have a 4th one.
The offices, I think, are closed now.
It's late in the day.
It's late in the day.
But tell me about parenting your children.
Parenting. Of course, maybe I may start by the decisions.
Yes.
That we made. We made a decision of the number of kids that we wanted to have while we were...
you also did?
Yes, we discussed that as part of the package of marriage.
Wow.
How many kids would you want and so forth and so on. So I'm blessed with 3 boys. And even the timing that we had on our boys, the first two boys, was as according to the plan in our courtship, which is very fundamental.
Because you guys had to balance your careers and
our
business.
Careers and business.
Okay.
So I'm blessed with 3 boys. My firstborn, Tadiwa, is...
How many years was he born into your marriage?
It was almost a year and a half into our marriage.
Okay.
Yes. And the second one was born in 2006. We gave a gap of 5 years into that.
All right.
And then my last born, Elroy, is...
You really took your time on that one, didn't you?
We did.
Yes.
He's 6. He turned 6 on the 9th of July.
Wow.
Happy birthday. Belated, of course, because of the time of the shooting. So they have a very big gap. My second-born son is 16, so they have a 10-year gap. It was
what were you doing in the 10 years, man?
Ideally, I call him a negotiated baby. Because what we did was we had resolved to just have 2 kids.
Okay.
So when we had our 2 boys, then life began to happen. God blessed us. We owned properties, and that's when we said, but look, we are entering into an empty nest. And I think we still have the energies. The first boy is going for university. The second one now is also going to go into boarding. So what would be the use of this big house that God blessed us? So maybe
when the university one leaves, you must do another
that is late into the night. I think it's now time to enjoy and cater for those that are already there.
So how is it been?
The ladies, of course, will get them from the in-laws and so forth. So God is going to bless me with those girls that I'm going to get from the sons.
Or the boys better have girls very fast. So tell us about parenting the boys. How has it been? For me, I've got a mixture of boys and girls and twins in between, which is quite a very fascinating.
But parenting is quite broad. But I guess the lessons that I can well share is that in life you go through certain phases. And nurturing the firstborn is very problematic. For me,
they test your parenting skills.
Test your parenting skills.
A lot
you
of
are
it
moving
is
from
theoretical.
theory to now practice. And
your parents
you hold
are like,
them. Yes.
We used to tell you. Now you see.
Now you see. And also you are. It's a new experience, And at times you have a high hand and high expectations on them. You push them much to the limit, and you're expecting much of them. And then as you go, of course, you start reflecting on the practices that you're having with each child. Say, okay, what are the mistakes that I made, which is quite common and quite human, and then you adjust as you go. And of course, the other challenges that you have as you are parenting is the aspect of provision.
Yes.
When I started well. I was gainfully employed, and I still am. But because of the economy, there are a lot of transitions that went through providing for the family. I know at one point when we had our second-born son, we had a period of about 3 years where all of us were not gainfully employed. The economy was so bad and things were very difficult. That was 2006. And later on, even went further down. Degenerated. Yes, hyperinflation.
Almost a collapsed economy.
Peaked. It was the peak of all the economic sufferings that any Zimbabwean could face. Was 2008. It's a story. So providing for the family is one of the challenges. And then, of course, the other challenges is the teaching the principles. Boys are difficult because when they grow up,
too much hormones, too much testosterone.
Yeah, they also want to challenge. They get to a point where they are stubborn, and they want to exercise their power and their manhood. They also want to challenge, even your decisions.
Yeah.
But I want to say, by and large, because we shared the same faith and shared the common beliefs and shared the same values, my wife and I think we were kind of like, helping each other to instill the very critical values in them. So I think it takes two to help bring children up, which is very critical.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And praying together as a family, I think, is one of the critical things that helps us to stay together, because all of us were believers and we almost liked the same things. But apparently she was not a musician, but now at least now she's better. She then joined. You remember when we married, it was our policy as a group that
you bring your
partner. So when I married, she automatically joined the group. And we shared the ministry together, so we'll share the experiences together, and with our kid while we're still singing together. So it somehow cemented that.
For me, I had many challenges with getting to be a parent, man.
I remember,
and I count it a privilege. You remember that Sabbath we were going to sing?
Yes.
In that Courtship church.
Yes.
We're coming from Mount Pleasant, and I had to call you by the bus station.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
We lost that pregnancy.
Yes, that's true. I remember.
And she almost died.
Yeah, I remember.
They had to operate her to save her, but the baby we lost. And we tried again. She had complications, almost developing into a cancer. But that time we'd at least gotten a first child. And then we lost 2 pregnancies to the point where the doctor said, don't try.
Don't try.
Because you might just put her health at risk. So it came with a lot of pain.
Yeah, I know. I remember.
And I remember my father telling me, I don't know how I would have handled this, my son. God has allowed it because he knows you are strong. And it was so painful to be a parent. And that's why when finally from nowhere, when we relocated to South Africa, and the conception was not even planned. It just happened, and when we went to the doctors, we were so anxious because we knew what the doctors had said. And boom, the scan says you're expecting twins.
Lovely.
I took a day off, man.
To celebrate.
To go home. Not only to celebrate, but to just calm down and say, Lord, could this be a replacement of the 2 pregnancies we lost?
Yeah.
But finally, God gave us twins, beautiful twins. I couldn't have imagined that one. I couldn't have planned it. It was a blessing.
And hey, they're growing big, man.
Taller than me now.
Taller than you.
Much mature, much wiser. And
for those that don't know, please follow the channel.
There's a podcast.
There's a podcast.
You see them on the podcast.
You see them on the podcast.
Yes.
Giants like the Anakims.
And then one time when we were having our New Year's resolutions and we were praying, and I was asking kids to write their resolutions on papers. Claire was still very young. Can't remember what age she was, but she was very young. I think 4 or 5 years. She says, Daddy, I want God to give me a baby sister. I said, why? You have 2 brothers. No, they bully me. And so she wanted a baby sister. I said,
that's how
do you really believe God can give us a baby sister? We had already planned to have 4 kids anyway, but our concern was the health for the mother because the processes were always a challenge.
Yeah, that's true.
But then we prayed about it and we thought, let's try our last one as we planned. And God gave me a girl.
Okay.
So 2 boys, 2 girls, and you're twins in between. In my house, there's no gender segregation like yours.
You know what? The Bible says kids are just a blessing.
Of course.
I know many friends, they emulate the gender that I have and say, you are blessed, you have boys. I don't have anything that I can write against my name to say, I had
no,
these
but
boys.
I can tell you it's different to parent girls and boys. I see the difference.
And I know there are many people that put pressure even to their spouses to say, why can't you give me boys?
It's a cause for divorce in many of our African cultures. If you can't get boys...
I know of a friend who, when he got a boy, he says, now I am a father.
Oh, Lord.
No, that's misconception of parenting, A child is simply
it's
a
one
gift.
Of those old stereotypes or cultural stereotypes.
A child is just a gift from God.
Yeah.
Like I'm saying, I can't beat my chest because I didn't determine, the millions of, seed that I gave to my spouse, but
only
the choice
came from God.
Yeah, it is God who made that. For the parents that are out there, just celebrate the babies.
But I can tell you from a parenting point of view, there's a huge difference for me.
Okay.
I guess I'm more protective of my girls. And I'm more lenient a little bit
on them.
And they know it.
Yeah.
That Daddy has a soft spot for us. I'm more friendly. I play more with them than perhaps I do with the boys.
I can't share that experience because...
let me tell you.
Because I only parented...
Listen. No, I know. But all of them I love. I don't think I would want to replace any of my 4 children with anyone. But also my parenting phase was a bit different because we lost our sister-in-law, Vivian's elder sister, and she left 2 beautiful siblings, Andrew and Mabel.
Yeah.
So you would remember from when we were young, even during our outings as boyfriend and girlfriend, who would come with those little ones. So they actually made us parents before we had our own biological
that's true.
kids.
I remember,
and so we raised them. We were helping the families involved, but as parents, we are the ones who stood most of the times and fed them, dressed them, looked after them.
Which was good.
And so we became a blended family because we adopted. In the English sense, it's adopting, but in our culture,
it's just family.
They are family, as much as my biological kids are. I remember one time having a conversation with my big boy and asking him, how do you feel about having a bigger brother than you who's not from your father and mom? He was like, in fact, I love it. Because it takes a lot of pressure from
that's very true. So those are some of the good things that come from and that emanate from our culture, which is very critical.
What are the challenges you faced in parenting?
There are quite a lot. I would say in the first 5 years, of course, like I mentioned, you don't know what to do in certain circumstances. You rely on the best that you can at any particular time in terms of disciplining.
Isn't it a blessing to remember that there are things you read in the spirit of prophecy?
Yes, that
about
will help
child
you out.
raising, Adventist home and all of that. And sometimes happy that I have a manual I can refer to.
That you can refer to. Unlike you, I would have loved my father to have been alive. You then go there and get some advice and what have you.
Or send these boys
to him so that at least so those are some of the challenges. And the other challenge with parenting, like I mentioned, is there's nothing as painful as failure to provide. It's quite painful at times to see your kid that they're not getting enough on the table, and their clothes are wearing out, and you as a father can provide.
And there are bills available,
bills that are available, school fees and so forth. It's a painful experience, and it's one of those challenges.
And you're parenting in an environment where the challenges are way beyond and above you because it's a failing economy.
Yeah, that's very true.
And it's not like you are not able to work.
Yeah.
But it's just that there are no opportunities for you to work. It's
not an enabling environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe the influences that we get, that's the other thing. But I just want to thank God that my children, so far, I'm happy with their development, especially the one that is at university. Is grown up to be more mature, more responsible. Just we had a talk before he went to university, and as he came for his vacation, his semester break, we also had a talk. I asked him, now do you have a girlfriend? He says, no, not yet. I hope he was telling me the truth. So the influences that you get, from the other peers is also something that is very critical. But I also want to thank my wife, because she also she was much closer to the boys, and more influence and more counseling coming from them.
There's nothing that gives a parent joy to see their young person growing into the person you expected them to become, or even surprise you. And then also to hear from other people who are beginning to see the impact of of our children in their lives, and people come and tell you, hey, did you know your daughter can do this? This is what she did. This is what your son has done.
And also following in the ministry, like my son has taken
he's a musician.
He's a musician, yes. And he's directing a group, and
they're singing at the university.
They're singing at the university. Wow.
Is he still doing beats?
Yeah. He loves it. Of course, that's the music that is nowadays. That is in fashion. But
Great
what
stuff.
can we do?
Now, for I want us to close it with maybe your top 2 or 3 key take-home messages on parenting and being a father or a husband.
Maybe we spoke much about kids and what have you. I want to talk about now the relationship between us, the progression and the development. For me, when I look back, I would classify marriage into 4 categories.
Okay.
The first
phases.
Phases. It's a proper term. Thank you for that. The first year is the honeymoon phase, and
everything is just butterflies,
sweet, discoveries and what have you. But from the second year to the 5th, that's where you are now thawing. You are being yourselves.
You're coming to your senses.
You're being realistic. And that phase, there's a lot of conflict. Okay, there's a lot of conflict where you really express yourselves, and
so that's where comes in terms of how you use things in the home, how you dress, how you
manage your finances,
how you spend
and so forth,
and how you relate to your mother and your father and your siblings.
It's a phase where you are now really realistic. You are discussing the real issues, and if you are not happy with anything, you say it out. I went through that phase. I think it's a very critical phase which defines who you are as individuals, how your level of tolerance, how you accommodate each other. It's a very critical phase, and I think many of our friends also have lost it at that phase. Many divorces are below 5 years into the marriage, and then from 6 years you now understand each other better. Okay, and now I'm almost in my 23rd year. 23 years I've been married. 23 years now. From 10 years, 6 to 10, you are growing into love. After 10, you can't do it without each other. You now understand each other. You share these happy moments and happy experiences. So those are the phases. So for those that
I'm already a grandfather, so I can give you some lessons.
That'll be fine.
It's but just to add to what you've just said, the challenges also differ.
That's very true.
With time.
That's true.
You may be fighting over which side of the bed you sleep while using Colgate here.
Yes.
But sometimes as your lives go on, health can become a challenge.
That's very true.
Sexual satisfaction can become an issue.
Yes.
As your families die, or your parents or siblings, there are financial pressures you're facing. As the economies change, financial security becomes a challenge. And as you parent your children going higher, the older they grow, the more expenditure you're spending. Especially on education. And I think for me, that's a non-negotiable. Children must definitely go to
school and an education.
That's a husband or a wife they will never divorce from. And so I guess we should have a time to discuss this in detail.
Yes.
Because many people have made a marriage wreck because they're failing to understand the dynamics of that institution.
Yes, that's very
as
true.
Time goes by, and they fail to manage change management in marriage.
Yeah, I wanted to anchor on one of the points that you made about provision of the family, that children, you need to give them education. Maybe I want to anchor it on this. When I engaged Loveness, like I said from the start, I saw her working. One of the things that we agreed was that she was going to pursue her professional career.
All right.
And of course, I also would have loved somebody who is productive, which is very important.
And that's important.
And it's very important. And
very
as
important.
we went into our marriage, the things that we later on agreed was that we need to continue to give each other wings. So she's while she's gainfully employed and whatever, it's important for her to continue to work and provide for the family. You never know who rests first. So for the husbands that are out there, make a provision for your wife so that she may be able to use her skills to leverage those skills in order to provide even what she can for the family.
Because she's a helper.
She's a helper, yes.
A helpmeet.
Yes.
Suitable. So what you're doing, she should be able to do it. If not, do it better. I want us to wrap this segment because of our time, but thank you so much for this experience. Okay. I think we should have to continue this. I'll reserve the grandfather's story later.
Later for another episode.
So that I don't gain an unfair advantage over you.
Yeah.
But to our viewers out there, thank you so much for taking time to be with us. We're just sitting here reflecting on marriage. I think there's so much we have not shared. But from these few, I'd love to know what you think. So leave a comment below and let us know if you have any questions. I'm hoping to do this. More MelVee Talks with my friend, a colleague, and Dr. Machona. Thank you so much and God bless.
Thank you, Melusi.
Amen. Remember to like and to subscribe and to leave a comment below. See you on the next episode. Amen.
Amen.